Greetings, traveler.
So, first of all, what happened? For anyone who might be hearing all this hype and this news and like, what the hell is going on? So, in my opinion, we've had like the most important patch in Hearthstone yesterday. Not so much because of the exact content, because, well, arena related, that is. So, we've had Arena going from Wild to Standard. That was a absolutely huge one. And we've had Arena going from just random cards based on rarity to buckets. So those are two very big changes. Now, what this change did was it reverted some of the old things they did. They removed some weak cards from certain classes because they wanted to increase the win rate. Cards such as Snipe and Inner Fire, cards that had a bad win rate, those are now back in the offering pool, but they will be placed in buckets based on their win rate and pick rate, meaning that even though they were perceived as bad or statistically bad, it won't really matter because there are other bad cards in the game as well right now, but because of the bucket system, it doesn't really matter that much. Now, the biggest change is that they removed mind control tech from Arena, which is amazing. It feels so good. Like the amount of time where we've spent like just deliberately not picking MC tech on this stream, but a lot longer in Collins' stream. It just feels really good to have that card gone. And I guess this is what we'll chat about a little bit, is because there are still people that think it might not have been a good idea to remove mind control tech from Arena. So I do like that they have the ability to remove certain cards. We've seen it with Vicious Fledgling before. Now, Fledgling, I was a bit on the fence about. I didn't hate it being removed, right? But I also didn't think it was super necessary. I think with mind control tech, it was absolutely super necessary. So one of the most common arguments that you will hear when it comes to mind control tech, mind control tech's role in the game is like comeback mechanisms, man. You need comeback mechanisms. You need to be able to come back in the game. If you don't have comeback mechanisms, stupid noobs that hit a curve with 1, 2, 3, 4, they will just always win and there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas, will you sometimes get curved where you draw poorly? Yes. This is a card game. It happens. Sometimes you have a terrible draw. Sometimes your opponent has the nuts. That doesn't mean that there should exist a card that can say, oh, so you've done extremely poorly for 6 turns. Your opponent has done really well, but because your opponent happens to have to develop, like for instance, this is a good example, is when you're playing against Priest and you're approaching turn 10, you know that he can have mind control. Mind control being only available on turn 10 and costing 10 mana. This will oftentimes prevent you from playing a Tar Lord, from playing, I don't know, maybe even an Enforcer. Just a very large health pool taunt is extremely punishing to play into a Priest as you're trying to kill him when he comes up on 10 mana. Now imagine that you can't play any of these minions at all into any class when you're winning and you're about to have 4 minions on board, because if they happen to hit the 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 and they steal the big taunt, they can absolutely win from that position on. I don't think that should be possible. Like, comeback, sure, but you shouldn't just be in an absolutely hopeless position and then flip it upside down and suddenly you're favored. Cards like Twisting Nether, they remove everything, kind of level the playing field again. And they're pretty strong, and they can do so much. Psychic Scream, Twisting Nether, Mass Hysteria, Volcano, these are all cards that can reset the board and then you get to play again. But what happens is you remove the board and you give it back to your opponent. So if he was winning, he now at least still has a chance to finish you off because he gets to redevelop. With mind control tech, you've only spent 3 mana, you flip the board on its head and you still get to spend you can still do other things. Especially in these late game situations where you have 10 mana, 7 mana left. You can maybe use removal on the other one, or one of the most disgusting ones is you play MC tech, you steal their big guy, and then you flame strike the rest, and you're like, hey, I win the game. So it's just, it's crazy how much of a flip this card can cost. Now, on average, it's probably fine. You don't steal such a crazy minion. You're quite far behind already, right? I think that probably the majority of the times I get MC teched, I probably still end up winning. But a very decent chunk of the times I get MC teched, I lose. And I can clearly pinpoint that on the he had MC tech, and that is why I lost. So yeah, that would be my main argument against it. That yes, you want to be able to have comeback mechanisms, but you don't want a comeback mechanism that instantly puts you ahead on board. A comeback mechanism is something that levels the playing field again, gives the board back to your opponent, and then because he went super wide on the board, he doesn't have many resources left, and then you can manage dealing with those limited resources he has left. Because you might say, well, if the board goes back to him, what's the point? He doesn't have unlimited cards. He can't keep dumping cards. He can't keep playing cards. That's pretty much it, yeah. I'm trying to think of other arguments, because it's almost always surface level when I hear someone defending mind control tech. It's something that you've thought about for like 5 seconds. It's usually those kind of arguments I hear. Because I think when you think about it deeply, it's very hard to defend mind control tech as a card.